Hey there, in this video, we're going to explore some of the most intriguing secrets about the Vatican that you may not have known before. As you may already know, the Vatican is the central location of the Catholic Church and serves as the official residence of the Pope. With so much history and a multitude of secret rooms and chambers, it's no surprise that the Vatican has been surrounded by a veil of mystery and wonder for centuries. Let's dive into some of the secrets that this fascinating place holds and uncover what has been hidden for so long. Welcome to Memoirs of Truth. Number 10. St. Valentine's Bones. On February 14th every year, couples all over the world celebrate their love for each other. Some devout Christians might visit a church to honor the patron saint of lovers. However, most people are unaware that Valentine's Day has a dark history that involves murder and the desecration of a corpse. In the 3rd century AD, a man named Saint Valentine was executed by beheading. He had been vocal in his opposition to the Roman ban on performing marriages, which angered the Romans. As punishment, Valentine was brutally killed, and his body was mutilated, with his bones scattered across different parts of the world. It's a somber reminder that the celebration of love and romance can have a tragic and gruesome backstory. The patron saint of love, Saint Valentine, was an ordinary man who stood up for his beliefs regarding marriage, which is why he became associated with love. He was not a baby with a bow and arrow, as depicted in popular culture. However, his remains are scattered around the world in various locations. For instance, a church in Dublin claims to have his physical heart, while his skull is on display in Rome. In Glasgow, a skeleton supposedly belonging to Valentine is kept in a golden box, and in Prague, a basilica has a piece of his shoulder bone. Additionally, some of his remains are stored in a sealed case in Madrid. Unfortunately, no one knows for sure where he is buried, and there is a possibility that he may never have existed. Despite being canonized as a saint, Valentine was removed from the general Roman calendar in 1969 due to the lack of substantial information about his life, which makes him a mysterious figure to the Church. However, people around the world continue to celebrate Valentine's Day every year, which shows the enduring popularity of love and romance in our lives. Number 9. Sodom and Gomorrah. The Bible describes Sodom and Gomorrah as cities where sin was rampant and where God's presence was absent. The inhabitants of these cities lived without restraint, engaging in all manner of sinful activities and showing no reverence for God. The wickedness of Sodom and Gomorrah was so great that God destroyed them with burning sulfur, despite Abraham's plea to spare the few righteous people who might still live there. Abraham looked back to see smoke rising from the land, like that of a furnace. One might ponder the consequences if this account were a true story. During an investigation at Tel El Harman, researchers discovered possible evidence of the biblical city of Sodom. This archaeological site, situated close to the Dead Sea in Jordan, was a thriving city 3,600 years ago before it was destroyed by a catastrophic event. Archaeologists were puzzled to find melted rooftops, pottery fragments that had disintegrated, and stones that had been exposed to extreme heat. The settlement remained desolate and uninhabited for 600 years after the biblical catastrophe that occurred around 1650 BC. It is believed that the destruction was caused by an airburst, in which a meteor entered the atmosphere and detonated with thousands of times more power than a nuclear bomb before it could reach the ground. The impact of an airburst event would have been so devastating that it could have destroyed the city entirely and killed all its inhabitants. Even those who witnessed the blast from miles away and came to investigate would have possibly believed it to be an act of God. Such discoveries are often frowned upon by the Vatican because they provide scientific evidence that supports biblical stories, but not necessarily in the way that religious tradition describes. It's possible that Sodom was not destroyed by God, but by a meteorite impact, which is a scientific explanation. Number 8. The photo of the crucifixion. Do you think it's possible that the Vatican has an actual photo of Jesus Christ's crucifixion? And if they do you think they got it using a time machine? It may sound crazy, but some people believe in a legend called the Chronovisor, which suggests that the Vatican has access to time travel technology. This rumor has been circulating for almost 100 years, and it's quite shocking to think about. In 1925, a priest named Marcello Pellegrino Renetti began a story that is hard to believe. Marcello was a respected musician, scholar, and Christian, but he made a very bold claim. He said that he was part of a team that went back in time to witness the crucifixion of Christ. According to him, they even took a picture of what they saw and brought it back with them to the present. Despite his respectable background, this story is quite outrageous and has been met with skepticism. It's highly likely that Marcello was not telling the truth. He made an extraordinary statement about using a magical device to travel back in time and watch the last Greek play called Thyestes. However, no evidence has ever surfaced to prove that the Vatican possesses a time machine in its archives. It's probable that Father Marcello was trying to prove the occurrence of the crucifixion by inventing a far-fetched story. If there truly exists a chronovisor, a device for time travel, it's unlikely that only the Vatican has discovered how to construct one. Number 7. Vatican World Domination Idea. Back in 2011, there was a bit of a stir when the Vatican officials unintentionally released a statement that some interpreted as a call for global domination. They proposed the creation of a global authority, essentially a one-world government that would oversee financial markets and individual governments. While it might sound like a far-fetched conspiracy theory to say the Vatican desires to control the world, it's a possibility that some people consider. The Pontifical Council for Justice and Peace, an organization within the Vatican that typically shares insights on social concerns, recently published a document that included some unusual ideas. The document suggested that a unified global government could be an effective way to manage the world's affairs. Additionally, it claimed that financial institutions have been operating beyond the law since the 1970s. Looking ahead, the document proposed the establishment of a single governing body to oversee all global financial markets. It also expressed the opinion that the dissolution of nation-states could have benefits, as more global laws could lead to greater harmony. While globalization has the potential for negative consequences, the authors believed it could ultimately bring people together and promote a consistent rule of law. Though the document was lengthy and contained some peculiar musings, the main message was evident: the Vatican has aspirations for world domination. What are your thoughts on this possibility? Share in the comments and subscribe to stay up to date on the latest videos. Number 6. The Miracle of Jake Finkbonner. It's rare for the Vatican to declare something as a miracle. They have strict guidelines for verifying if an event truly qualifies as a miracle performed by God. One such occurrence was the miraculous recovery of a boy named Jake Finkbonner. In 2006, while playing basketball at school in Washington State, Jake hit his head and developed a headache and fever. He was taken to Seattle Children's Hospital for treatment. Jake's medical situation was quite serious. He was infected with a type of flesh-eating bacterium known as Strep A, which had spread from his face down to his neck and chest. Thankfully, the bacterium did not reach his brain and cause further harm. Jake's parents believed that he was protected by a Mohawk Indian who had lived 350 years ago. Despite the doctor's best efforts, they were unable to cure the infection, and Jake's condition worsened to the point of death. However, just as he was about to pass away and had received his last rites, the infection miraculously stopped spreading. The doctors were amazed by Jake's unexpected recovery, describing it as a true miracle. However, the family had a different explanation for what had occurred. They claimed that a dear friend had placed an ancient relic belonging to Kateri Tekakwitha on Jake's pillow just before the infection miraculously stopped spreading. Kateri Tekakwitha was a devout Catholic who lived 350 years ago and had been beatified by the Vatican in 1980, just one step away from being declared a saint. Following Jake's incredible recovery, Kateri was credited with saving his life, and the Vatican quickly declared her a saint. Following Jake's incredible recovery, Kateri was given credit for saving the boy's life, and the Vatican declared her a saint in recognition of the miracle. However, there is a lesser-known aspect to this story that the Vatican might prefer to keep quiet, Even after his supposed miraculous recovery, Jake still needed to undergo an additional 25 surgeries. While it is true that the infection stopped coincidentally, it was ultimately medical science that saved Jake's life. Nonetheless, the Vatican still deemed the event to be a legitimate miracle and decided to canonize Kateri as a saint. What are your thoughts on all of these? Share your opinions in the comments section below. Thank you for watching, and if you haven't already, please hit the subscribe button. Check back soon for more fascinating videos from our channel.